Welcome everybody to this month's edition of the Thunderbird Community Office Hours. I'm Heather, joined by my wonderful co-host Monica, and today we have Laurel here, who is the manager of the design team, to kind of talk about some design things. She has a lovely presentation that she gave at FOSDEM, and she's been nice enough to offer a private viewing of that talk just for us, and then we're going to ask a bunch of questions. So I'm very excited since I missed your talk at Boston. This will be very informative. And yeah, Laurel, tell us all the design things.
Perfect. So thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I'll go through my talk that I gave at FOSDEM. It's all about working on our cross-platform design system. So, I like to call design the glue, and design systems definitely the glue in making things consistent and repeatable and all the good stuff, but I will unpack that slowly. And there are a couple dry jokes in here, and I'm just going to pretend that I hear the laugh track.
Oh,
At FOSDEM, there was
fantastic.
some great interjections of response that was good. Okay, so I will share my screen. Is this one? It's up a little shorter. There. Oh, and got to do some window rearranging here. Okay, cool. Is that all good? You can see my screen okay? Okay, good, perfect. Feel free to come off mute if you want to laugh, interject, make me feel not so alone.
I'll stay off. Yeah.
All right, so the title of this talk is Building a Cross-Platform Scalable Open Source Design System. When I introduced this to the crowd, I sort of, took a pulse as to who's using Thunderbird, how many people have, checked out Thunderbird for Android too. Lots of hands went up. And then I asked how, if anyone was excited for Thunderbird iOS, which I'm hoping maybe as I say that now, there's a few question marks among the crowd. Okay, right here. Okay, so hi, I'm Laurel, a design manager at Thunderbird. I've been with the team for about a year now, and I am always joined by my superstar design team, which includes Micah and Sol, and often our director of engineering in desktop and mobile, Alessandro. He graciously joins the design team. So, all right. So last year, Alessandro, who's our director of desktop and mobile apps, came to FOSDEM, and he talked about how Thunderbird had entered the modern UI era of simplicity and consistency. By prioritizing user-centered design and accessibility, Thunderbird is finally catching up with the competition. We're working really hard to reduce visual clutter and enhance the readability of our productivity tool. Now, if you're familiar with Thunderbird and the UI UX journey, you're probably familiar with the complexity and challenges of its dense interface. Many of you experienced the improvements introduced with version 115, codenamed Supernova, and more recently, version 128, which is known as Nebula, that built on that foundation, adding new features, better organization, and visual refinements. Improvements to Cards View have made scanning emails faster and enhanced the thread experience, all while delivering a more visually pleasing design. Plus, the height of cards adjusts automatically based on your settings, ensuring everything looks perfectly balanced. Simple, right? When designers need spreadsheets, we're in trouble. As you can see here, a discovery of at least 42 different selection states, each with their own style, completely inconsistent and a nightmare to implement properly. So it took a while, but new selection states finally landed, and you can see those in the interface today. So if you're a contributor and you've explored the code base, you know that it's not so simple. That said, when using Thunderbird, once you recognize the visual cues and interaction states, there's an expectation for these elements to maintain their integrity across all Thunderbird experiences. With Thunderbird for Android launching last year, the beta introduction, of Thunderbird Appointment and the anticipation of Thunderbird for iOS, the value and importance of a cohesive design system become clear. Let's be real. Design systems at their core should be kind of boring. And that's a good thing, because when the foundational decisions are locked in, we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. All that reserved energy can go towards the beautiful moments that spark innovation and ensure our products meet the needs of our diverse users. Plus, A solid design system keeps everything consistent across design files and product environments, allowing us to make updates more quickly and seamlessly from a single source. In design systems, every part needs a strong connector, like bolts that hold structures together. These bolts are the components that keep the user experience consistent and reliable across platforms. So at Thunderbird, these aren't just ordinary bolts. Of course, they're Thunderbolts, adding the strength and power of a lightning strike to every interaction. By connecting our cross-platform design system, we're creating a solid, adaptable foundation ready for future growth. So when we started along this journey, we needed to start with design principles because they're essential and they serve for the foundation of every decision made within the system. Our design principles prioritize creating a user-centered experience that's intuitive, inclusive, and respectful. We focus on familiarity, simplicity, and personalization while empowering diverse users with accessibility and customization. By emphasizing privacy, collaboration, and craftsmanship, we aim to deliver elegant, secure, and seamless interactions across platforms. So what you see on screen here, I won't read everything in detail, but there's 5 principles that shape our approach. First one's consistent familiarity. So everything looks familiar, it's simple, and feels effortless. And then inclusive freedom. We make our interfaces adaptable, customizable, and accessible. And as always, Thunderbird is your privacy companion. We want you to know that in every interaction, you feel that sense of trusted partnership. And we like to humanize collaboration. So not that you are working in a productivity tool, but it feels human. It doesn't feel like human computer moment. So it's made simple, made human, just like having a conversation with a person. And our craft, we always aim at making the interface sleek and seamless across all touch points. So what comes next? When I joined the team last year, I knew I had to start with an audit, both to become familiar with the product and to use my fresh eyes to spot inconsistency and where those sad face user experiences might be present. So without diving too deep, I initially discovered 28 shades of blue. And that's without even touching on even more colors, icons, textiles, or spacing. Let's just say that there's a silent chaos in every design. Clearly, we needed to establish some foundations before tackling the worst place to start a design system, the button. Color is really hard. After lengthy mulling and explorations, I created a light and dark palette for Thunderbird brand and introduced color variables. Instead of relying on color styles, which would only add unnecessary complexity to an already intricate product, I opted for a simpler approach. The focus was on minimal variables aligned with specific uses such as surface elevation, primary colors, supporting colors like success, warning, and critical, text and icon colors, and subtle accent colors. And for contrast, we aimed at AAA where we could and gave into the limits of dark mode, ensuring accessibility at AA. Phew. Okay, that's a bit exhausting, right? It's nice up here at the tip of the iceberg, but we know that design systems run deep, really deep. The rest of the foundation work came along smoothly. Desktop anatomy, typography styles, iconography, and spacing values. It's all still a work in progress, or alpha might be more familiar to some. To build our component library, we let projects drive what gets included in the shared library. So no putting the cart before the horse. Everything is realistic, contextual, and thoroughly vetted. Complexity. We need to support desktop, Android, and web, all in both light and dark modes. The goal is to create a consistent visual language that ensures familiarity across all touchpoints, making switching devices effortless and seamlessly adapt to your context. We approached Thunderbird for Android using Material 3 as a foundation, allowing us to move quickly with a predefined design system that we could customize as needed. You may notice a gap between the desktop and Android experiences today, but rest assured, these worlds are coming closer together. Material 3 is powerful, but heavily influenced by Google's style, making it harder to customize for unique branding or cross-platform use. It also comes with challenges like uniformity and performance overhead. And as we look ahead to building Thunderbird for iOS, Apple's human interface guidelines present both exciting opportunities and unique challenges, shaping how we adapt Thunderbird's design for a whole new platform. It's going to be a swift journey.
Oh, so bad.
Thank you. To tackle this and to ensure consistency across all experiences, we're working through a 6-phase process to build out our design system. And here's how it all comes together. In phase 1, we work on discovery and auditing. We start by identifying the components in each project, reviewing styles to see if foundational elements like color, typography, or brand guidelines need updates. Then we create an inventory in the project file and evaluate each item against key criteria. Does it look consistent? Can it be reused in at least 2 contexts? Does it involve minimal user interaction? From there, we add tasks to our Notion project board and keep track of what's next. Then we move into phase 2, design. And for me, this is where the fun starts. We focus on designing flexible and reusable components and their variations for different use cases. Think buttons and all their various states. Along the way, we define and document styles like color, typography, spacing, and making sure that accessibility stays front and center with standards like WCAG. Once everything is ready, we publish the components and styles to a shared library in Figma. And just to note, we're aiming to transition to PenPot to better align with our values. And phase 3, which is the green here in front of you, this is front-end preparation. In this phase, we get into the nitty-gritty of front-end work, creating or updating CSS variable files and prepping variables for Android, which we use Jetpack Compose. We also prepare design documentation to guide designers, like usage instructions, and export assets for development, and flag components as ready for implementation. In phase 4, this is where components come to life. Developers build, implement, and integrate them into projects, often replacing or updating similar existing items. Clear documentation supports this phase, ensuring the components are used consistently and easy to maintain. Martin, who is our staff software engineer for desktop, likes to refer to this phase as make the thing, use the thing, document the thing. And phase 5, documentation. This is where we tie it all together. We implement the components in a centralized library like Storybook, so they're easy to reuse across projects. We also create friendly, comprehensive documentation that includes design principles, component usage, code examples, and best practices. A version control system helps us manage updates and communicate changes, making sure the whole team stays in sync. And the last phase, governance and maintenance. This upcoming phase is all about keeping design system running smoothly. We establish a governance model with clear roles and responsibilities to manage and evolve the system. Regular reviews help us keep on track with new project needs, user feedback, and any tech advancements. We also engage with the community, encouraging feedback and contribution to keep it relevant and effective. This is our lovely team at Thunderbird. We're a small team of employees, lucky to have an amazing and dedicated community that generously puts their time and energy into making our products better. Historically, most of our contributors have been developers, and many of them have tackled UX/UI challenges with remarkable care. But here's the thing, where are all the designers? We'd love to see more designers joining us, especially to help shape and grow Bolt, Thunderbird's design system. We know that contributing as a designer to open source projects like Thunderbird can feel daunting at first. Barriers like developer-focused workflows, limited onboarding, and a lack of design tools can get in the way. But the good news is the door is wide open for designers to bring their unique talents to the table, and we're here to make that easier. At Thunderbird, we believe in the power of free and open tools to create healthier, more accessible tech ecosystem. Values that resonate deeply with designers contributing to open source. By embracing these shared values and addressing common barriers, Thunderbird is working to create a space where designers feel empowered to contribute. Whether you're improving a button, refining a layout, or helping us take Bolt to the next level, your efforts can help shape a more cohesive and beautiful experience for Thunderbird users everywhere. Later this year, we're aiming to launch community files in Figma and PenPot featuring core UI elements from Bolt. These files are all about empowering our growing design community to learn, collaborate, and create together. By sharing these resources, we're making it easier to keep designs consistent, scalable, and ready for open collaboration across Thunderbird's open source ecosystem. And as I wrap up, I'd love to know, how would you like to contribute to Thunderbird? Whether it's creating user research plans or scripts, conducting heuristic analysis, designing components or patterns, improving accessibility through research and design, or offering insights and guidance, your contributions can enhance design across Thunderbird's ecosystem, or specifically help shape Bolt, the Bolt design system for a more seamless and inclusive user experience. And then before I flip the script for questions and feedback, I have a little gift, and hopefully this should work, I think, if you hold your camera up to the QR code. We also have this available on our website. You'll find in the top menu, there'll be an extra button and you can download this wallpaper there. But have you ever wondered where Rock calls home? Rock is our Thunderbird. So last year we teamed up with Michaela Martin, who's an amazing illustrator from Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada, to bring Rock's world to life. And what you see here is the result on screen. Yeah, so you're welcome to take a piece of Thunderbird with you. Just scan the QR code and download this wallpaper for use on your favorite device. Works great on iOS or Android too. You can kind of position where you want in the image. So enjoy. And that's it. Thank you for listening. And then now I guess we can do a little bit of Q&A.
Nice. Thank you so
Yay.
much. Also,
Thank
that wallpaper is gorgeous.
I was so
Should we go back
happy
to
as
it?
soon as it was available. I threw it on my laptop because I mean, I do like the Firefox one that comes stock on our work laptops is fine, but we want a Thunderbird one. Just
That's right.
saying.
Actually, that's a good reminder. We have to get that shipped with any new laptop. That's a to-do list for me.
Yeah.
Yes,
Nice.
exactly.
I'm
So
just going to stop sharing so I can see you. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So I know that FOSDEM, oh my gosh, this month has flown by and it's been almost a month since you gave this talk. But do you remember, like, were there any like interesting conversations or really kind of thought-provoking questions that you had in kind of the hallway track or after your talk?
Yeah, there were many. The usual, how do people react to changes with the interface? As always. Obviously, I highlighted cards too, and cards is a little bit of a passionate topic in email interface, especially ascending versus descending in threads.
Oh my goodness.
So that one, at least, I was able to answer with, we're working on it, and these kinds of things. We always want to hear suggestions. I did have a rather, I don't know, people get excited about design systems for sure and how you can scale and work with a full team. And so one individual came and talked to me and, especially on color alone, which color is, designers want all the colors, but, hard when all of a sudden you end up with so many shades of blue. And this designer asked me about that. It's like, designers always want to introduce a new color. What do I do? And so we just talked about, being able to tie it to functionality and make it make sense, right? It's not just that there's another color shade of blue in your palette. It's why are you using it and what does it mean across your entire system? So, yeah.
That's awesome. And it's just really neat to see. I know that like having a design kind of room at FOSDEM, I know there's another conference happening in March, FOSPEC stage, and they're having a whole day devoted to design. So it's kind of to see like this kind of blossoming attention on design in the open source world. And it's nice because it does feel like it's overdue.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's a different lens into thinking about projects. I mean, there's always a great, I love cross-functional teams too. When you get the engineers and the designers together and jam out a problem and then everyone kind of splits and works on their respective side and then they come back together and then it builds even more. It's like the things we can achieve, you can't do when you're just on your own, right? We need thinking about it from different angles and perspectives. The one thing I want to point out too with FOSDEM that was cool is the design room happens in the afternoon, but in the morning there's a full room dedicated to accessibility as well. So that was also really cool to see.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's like a nice segue into our next question too.
Yeah, yeah. So I have, before I joined Thunderbird, I've always appreciated accessibility being front of mind when it is. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about Thunderbird. And you had mentioned, keeping things accessible. And my question is a pretty high level, just what are some of the challenges there to make sure things remain accessible when you do make a change?
Yeah. So what do I say? Sometimes this is a tug of war in conversation that I've heard a dominant conversation where it's like, if you approach everything from an accessible lens, then you limit what you can do in an interface, and therefore it can't be as stylized or as, have some unique functionality in that, which I honestly don't think is that true. One of the other things too, I think that we have seen, especially in the desktop UI, is click targets is one that I constantly come back to. And, the conversation around how small and precise can things be, and you do have a little bit more affordance when you're in, a click area, then you open it up and you have keyboard interactions. You've opened another layer. And then if you had to have screen reader as well and different automation tools, then at least there's another way in too. So, if we start to have all these things in place, then the great thing I find with them is that they often unlock things for everyone. So yeah, just knowing that they're there gives us I think it gives us more flexibility and affordance so that we can do things easily. And everybody moves through a space of needing these tools at some point in their life,
Yeah.
Me, I'd probably be
Right.
holding my dog and needing to do voice activated stuff.
Yeah.
And assuming we're going to be using it when we're in our 80s, right? We're going to
Well,
certainly
that's the
need-
thing too. I don't know where I'm at, but pinch and zoom on my phone is really important to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, especially when I'm at restaurants and I forget my reading glasses.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
But what about like when we decide to change, an icon for something or a color for something? How do we make sure that it if we change the color of a button, how do we make sure that that remains accessible to people that might not see that color change?
Oh, for sure. Color is only one area, right? One contrast area too. So you need text, we need shapes, we need, well, the contrast will help too, right? And then you've got all your, your area description tools, alt tags, those types of things too. The other main thing across all of it, right, is a consistent approach. So, and we know that if we're making a change, it has to have a very good reason, right? It's not just one off or, something, but especially with the dense interface that we have, often a lot of our icons are functional, they're interactive. And once you get to know them, you rely on them. So luckily, I want to say there are some things that are maybe unique, but there's, you always have to come back to what is the more broadly accepted and known use of an icon and build in that habit. If we don't, there's other ways into, and that if we had something that was like, hey, this is really unique to us, it's up to us to do a little bit of onboarding and help that person along. That's where a little bit of marketing, blogs, community hours, those types of things. So that
We do that,
people,
or we try to.
people, yeah, and people talk about it in the forums too. And then it's the shared sense of learning amongst everyone. But if we've done our job right with UX, it should be, I want to say obviously known, and I don't want to use intuitive because that's isn't the same for everyone, or common.
Right.
What's common knowledge is not necessarily common. So, but in your flow, there should be that makes sense in the logic for what you're doing, and that shouldn't be a surprise. It should feel easy, and then that habit is formed.
Yeah. And then I guess there's an additional challenge of making that same change in the other platforms in a way that seems natural for those platforms.
Yeah, totally. You're used to Android, the way the operating system works, right? Inside an app should feel similar. There's distinct differences between iOS and Android. And if you've been on an iOS, you get over to an Android and it's like, what is going on? There's different learned behaviors in each. So there's a bit of a median space to unpack with that, right? So if you're an Android user, it should feel like an Android app too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So, and I think that this kind of can lead in pretty well to the next one that we thought of. And kind of one of the things that, we want Thunderbird to be easy to use and efficient, and for people to get what they need to do what they need to do in as few steps as possible. And on the other side, Thunderbird is really powerful and has all these options for customization that I swear I'm still learning new things about this software every day.
Yeah.
So, and especially I think for design, you as part of our team, you're on that front of how do we balance kind of these two different aspects of our software. So what have been some of kind of the challenges, whether it's icons or whether it's menus, to kind of make an app that's both easy to use but can be very powerful in how people use it?
Yeah, well, I guess the way we refer to our tools inside as, power productivity, right? So how do I be super efficiently organized and making sure that I keep the right things in focus at the right time, right? I know for me, especially one of my early ones setting up Thunderbird 2 was, making use of filters, which I rely on heavily now. I'm going to acknowledge that they need some tuning, but I couldn't do without them now, being able to code things certain ways that they drop into certain folders, so that, let's say I'm doing, design QA. I'm going to have all my comments, those all go into a certain folder, so that I'm like, I've got this hour in my day, I'm doing design QA, that's it. I'm going to block everything else out right now. Or perhaps it's looking at, all the posts and replies that are in topic box, and those go into another folder. So to me, that's massive, and then there's all the other layers of, how do I use tags efficiently? How do I, sort things in the right way? That's just mail. There's a whole ecosystem when it comes to Thunderbird, right? So right now we're working on calendar. How does calendar, nest in the right way with our mail? And then extending to that would be a to-do list. I know for me, that's like, for me in productivity, that's, my wheelhouse. I'm going to admit, and I'm a Mac user, but I had a really, really, really old version of 2006 Outlook that I had a really hard time giving up because it was so integrated with a task list for me and how it connected into mail. So, that full sense of, being able to respond to the right things or take an action from the right things. Yeah, pretty important. We don't want them lost in menus. If they're, top level things that you do all the time, you need to be able to either customize it out the way that you need to do, or have it there. Like, we know by talking to people, looking at our user base, the things that people do often and frequently, those are there. They're right up front. There should be no trying to find those things. They're not
Yeah,
stuck
you don't
under a
want
kebab menu somewhere.
exactly, because you want to be like, oh my gosh, how many layers into this menu do I need to go?
Yeah, and then you move that into mobile devices too, right? Often we have swipe gestures for certain things. So, when you're in your email, and you can customize these, but, quick actions, like, I want to archive or delete or pin. Maybe I set that up as a right swipe. Left swipe could be mark this read or unread, however you organize your tools. And then there's haptic response too. So you get a new email, maybe your phone vibrates or something. So all those little cues. Yeah.
Design is much more complicated than I had realized as a non-designer myself.
Code is too.
Well, the Thunderbird code base is it's a special snowflake, I would say. So you had mentioned some tools. You said that there was a planned transition from Figma to PenPot. And so I have kind of two questions. One is, when is that all happening and going to be complete? What are the challenges there? But also, what other kinds of tools do the designers use besides colorful spreadsheets?
Yeah, colorful. Yeah, spreadsheets are. Yeah, PenPot is amazing, and it's continually evolving all the time. So we've been watching closely. I want to start. I'm not there yet, just because of some of the robust functionality we have in Figma right now. It's hard. We haven't been able to make that transition, but I'm waiting to do that soon. I can't really give you an ETA on that. Yeah. Part of it's like looking at some of our integrations and then hopping over there. But they've leveled up massively in the last little bit. So, and the community files that we're launching, I'm hoping that with that, we'll see users using that. Like, it's curious too to know what tools open source designers are mainly using too. Like, are you in PenPot? Are you in Figma? Are you still in Sketch? Or using something else? Are you using Illustrator? Why? Anyway, so be a little bit of a look at our community as well. But like for this year, really, it's about getting our foundation set up and also getting our public facing design system there and ready. So yeah, switching tools and processes within the team is not my main driver at the moment. I wish it was, and that it was easy to hop over. But yeah, there's a few other things that we're taking care of first. So yeah, but yeah, PenPot's got some great stuff going on.
Exciting.
It is really exciting. We're all really excited too. I find it's Figma. How long have I been in there now? 8-9 years. The dev tool, there's a lot of functionality within Figma, but we don't use all of it. Like we use in terms of other tools when we start to do our design dev handshakes. We've been using Zeppelin a lot more again, and that's just because it's a little bit, I want to say it's cleaner. It's just quicker, when we're talking spacing values and things like that, it's a little bit easier. I have a hard time wanting, to bring a dev into a very specific design tool and then having to teach them things to use within it. So we went back to Zeppelin because it's pretty, most devs get in there. I don't have to explain much and they're in there using things right away. So we're there for now. What other tools? Our public facing documentation will be in zero height, leaning on design system stuff. We talked about Storybook. Other tools, we still do some marketing materials. Sometimes the design starts in Figma, but then we have to export that to Illustrator and get it all print ready. So we use that from time to time. SVGs happen in various places. Sometimes they happen in Inkscape. Sometimes I still use Illustrator on my iPad sometimes. Yeah, and we use a lot of image compression tools to make sure things are optimized once we get them to production. And think of what else. There's many things, many tools.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
It's a very different tool set from what I use in my day-to-day. So that was just a
Yeah.
general curiosity question.
Yeah, a lot of like the intersection too, like CodePen is pretty foundational for doing, quick on the fly, trying to figure out interaction moments, or just being able to iterate a little bit and then hand that over, know that I don't know, maybe you're working on some sort of widget. How is it actually functioning if in a code way, although we do use prototyping within Figma to do that as well. So yeah, all sorts of
Right.
things.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
I want to say my favorite tool actually, which
Okay.
I've always emphasized to the designers, but a pen and a piece of paper.
Oh, yeah.
Sketching on the fly. Yeah, I always say I want napkin sketches. What were you thinking about at lunch?
I still do that, like when I'm trying to learn an area of the Thunderbird code base. I will pencil and paper to draw like an inheritance map to try and wrap my head around like what is happening here.
Totally.
And then that piece of paper like goes everywhere with me for like a month.
I love taking notes by hand, and it's just there's something so satisfying about it. And it's just yay.
Agreed.
And I think especially when so much else of our work is on a screen, it's nice to have aspects that are still kind of a bit more grounded.
Yeah, totally. To be able to have the I don't know, freedom of thought in a way, not defined by a tool, or you're just kind of more open. At least that's the way I think about it.
No, I agree.
That's a nice thing. Well, it's been really cool. This is the second office hours in a row. We are at the end of February 2025, if you're watching this, that we have mentioned Thunderbird for iOS, and which is very cool. And it was really neat. I'm also an iOS user to see the mock-ups. I'm like, one day I'll have that on my phone too. So with some of the lessons, I know it was really interesting to hear you talk about the kind of opportunities, but also the challenges with Material 3 and how Apple's kind of different and their, what did you call it? Their human
human interface guidelines.
Human interface
guidelines.
So as as we start to, as we hire our developer for that and kind of start to move into actually turning this in from talk into design and code, are there any of kind of the lessons that you all learned in helping make the transition from K9 to Thunderbird for Android that you think will maybe make the road a little less bumpy to go from 0 to Thunderbird for iOS?
I can't speak like directly to the code part of it too much. But I want to say, like, even just say adapting Material 3 into K9 had significant challenges. And even today, like recently, I, just trying to figure out where colors are being injected into, for example. Like I had to work with our developer there to, have a back and forth a little bit around hex colors and try to figure it out. We were using a plugin, which was not great and designed to figure that out initially. It got us far along, but then we had, this back and forth with code. It's like, well, what really is happening? And why is it something scooting out this color over here? So a little bit of challenges back and forth that way. I don't know what that team will start with for a foundation, but I have a feeling it will be building it more from the ground up. Yeah. So, because it's like either do you grab something and then modify it, or you just, start from zero. So they equally have their challenges, right? So, yeah.
it'll be very interesting. And hopefully once they're kind of into the process, and Heather, you and I will get to talk to whoever that person is going to be and kind of check in and see how things are going.
Yeah,
It's-
I'm excited. I mean, I've never been an iOS user, but I know there are many that are very excited, for this app.
oh, yes, there are. And they're
And that's
all
when I can
very
say, neener, I already have it on my Android phone. You should be an Android user.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know for me, I've definitely gotten more into the mind of like I need to move across devices as I move throughout my day, and I have an expectation that everything kind of comes with me.
No,
So it's
that's
really
a
hard to
really
be like,
good
yeah,
mindset. Yeah.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
not that I enjoy my times not looking at devices, when I'm waiting or something, but there's times where I'm like, I got 5 minutes and just to blast through my email. So, and knowing that, when I come back to my desktop, things will all be sorted and prioritized in the way that I need them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, speaking about kind of switching across the different platforms, you had mentioned the light and dark color palette. Is that exactly the same across all three platforms, Android, desktop, and iOS?
No, yeah, the color palette even for light mode and dark mode is very different in Android right now. Yeah, yeah,
Is
they're not
that
the
going
same
to
values.
change to
I
come
hope
together and
so.
be the same?
There's a little bit of different challenges with the screens because with what do I say, some of the colors in that in Android, the resolution of the screen can seem a little brighter, and sometimes there's an adaptability with it that can give it a blue cast too. So we look at those things. You don't want to have like we actually don't have a pure white in it. It has a little bit of, I'm going to call it a dull, but yeah, it's not quite a white in it. It's a little bit of an off white. So yeah, so
Okay.
things are a little different there. And then even like right now, for example, if an email is red, the background changes to a gray. You don't see that in desktop. So it stays white. So yeah, there is some nuance there. Yeah. And the blues
Okay.
are the primary blue, even though we started with it. Yeah. The difference is that material works with a lot greater surface elevation and it kind of works backwards. So it's like the closer it is to you, it dims out. Complicated. I don't know. Yeah.
Did not know that. That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I always find that one challenging for me. It's like if I'm looking at a device, am I casting the shadow or am I the light? I don't know. Like some deep philosophical artist corner thing has to happen.
You're the light of your phone's life,
Yeah.
Laurel.
Yeah,
Oh, gee.
right. Is the light coming from the phone or am I the light? Yeah, it
Well,
gets me
I'm
on a
going to
little
be
bit of a
obsessively noticing the next time I check the work phone. I'm like, okay, where's the settings for this so I can tell someone how to do that?
So funny.
you can. It is.
So this is, I think, bringing us maybe back from kind of the mobile world, kind of our newest frontier, to kind of going back to the desktop app. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary last year, and we've had people who have been using us for that long and even older with the 0.1 version. And so what are some of the challenges to people who are like, I like how old school Thunderbird looked. I don't like
Yeah.
this new look, and who especially kind of like are like, you're changing things just to change them. What
Yeah.
are some of the, challenges with that? I mean, we know that legacy code has other challenges too, but when you have legacy design, kind of how do you
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, that 90s interface that some people hold dear, which I fully understand, and then even say like there's a lot of UX work that's happened to like reduce visual clutter, clean up, maybe some crazy nested trees that might have happened. And then this move to like a more what we want to call modern UI look and feel to it too, which maybe gives us more market parity for what's out there right now. And we've definitely seen our user base grow because of this. But, these tools that we use every day, they're really personal, right? And it's kind of a home. Like if you love pink, you want to have a pink accent color across all these things. So, if someone really, really loves that 90s interface, in the future, there'll be themes and you should be able to have a themable interface for, that goes across your system. And you're like, yeah, I want my Windows 95 look on my Thunderbird. So we'll make it happen. Or, you want more of, speaking maybe to a more Linux type look, we could do that. So yeah, in an ideal world, there would be a level once we can get more of the foundations together, which is why we're doing things like the design system and injecting these consistent bits, because then you can add theming on top of it. And then it's, I want my Windows 95, so we can inject a different icon library into that theme, and have things pivot a little bit more easily so that it does feel like you have personalized an application that you're in every day, and that you don't just have to have this modern UI because that's not your jam.
Yeah. And I think that one of the really good things too is that, when we had cards view come in, that didn't just become, it's like, okay, well, table view is gone now. It's still there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you have the option, right? And then density too. I like, I
Mm-hmm.
want my really dense interface, or I need things a little bit more relaxed, so there's more spacing between things. So all of these things that, you can tweak so that it feels right for you.
I think I was one of those users that I really liked the table, the classic view, but I use
Mhm.
cards view and I've definitely gotten used to it.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate it now. Yeah. So
Yeah. Those changes are hard when you're used to things being a certain way and you have to, use it to do, you're running a business or whatever, and you don't have time to learn or to have
Mm-hmm.
something feel off. So making those transitions takes a bit of time and to feel it out. And sometimes those affordances aren't always there. So,
right. I have a question about kind of the bolts and I guess the nuts and bolts of design.
nuts and
I was
bolts.
just gonna go there. Can you, I guess just for me at least, explain a little bit more about the bolts themselves? Excuse me, sorry, my cat is
Oh
very
yeah.
interested as well. Yeah, how do the
Yeah.
bolts work? How do the community contributors I guess, have discussions around them? Yeah, how
Yeah.
does that work?
For sure. Yeah, we're sort of paving the way to that. It hasn't happened yet. Probably FOSDEM was me being
Okay.
like, hey, we're doing this thing. These things are going to happen. We
Okay.
want to have more design contribution. I'm looking at different like open source design.net, probably engaging, for projects. I'd love to have some very specific posts on there for things that as an internal team that we're not focused on right now, like chat, and if there was something specific about chat, we could post it there and a designer could get involved. In terms of the design system's built with, there's foundation layers, there's iconography library, and then there's components, and eventually there could be what we call patterns or recipes. But for example, cards, which would be a little bit of a recipe, is that I could put out, the design that we have now. And for all those people that are like, I had this idea with cards and I want to try this, and they just change it around, and then they could submit that back. And then we can have really open, transparent communication amongst our community and maybe evolve it. You get enough people looking at it, and maybe we unlock something that we haven't been able to see yet. So, and that can happen across any of the components too. And we were talking about theming there too. How wild would it be where you're like, I took all the basic UI and this is, my flower petal theme. I don't know. You know,
Uh,
You just
I
said
the
like those Winamp skins from the early
yeah.
2000s. Remember those?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's playground that we can be in. So, or it's like improving things, or, accessibility, or especially the part that I don't, it's like when you go across into different regions, and that maybe, people want to work with different layouts, and then you need a component to adapt in a different way. And, maybe there's language, certain things that, us to want different things. So there's so much complexity for our vast number of users that, you know, takes all of us contributing to figure that stuff out.
It's exciting. That's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, more to come on that, I would say. I'm still
Yeah.
figuring all of it out, how to build up our design part of our community.
yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
we will
Right.
definitely put, when you're watching this video, if you look in the description, and also if you came here from the blog, we will have links to all of these resources, and especially to our design mailing list, where Laurel, you've had some really great discussions. And I just love how kind of you really model and live kind of that value of working in the open. So
Yeah, our topic box contributors have been amazing for giving us feedback, and we posted some usability tests on there and had some people participate, and we'll be doing more of that. So yeah, very, very, very valuable. It's great to have that engagement.
it is. So I think this might be our last question, and really good timing. If somebody wants to join Team Thunderbird and do design, are you all hiring now?
Right now we are hiring a senior UX designer, but yeah, we're in process with that. So we don't have any openings at the moment, but I would stay tuned. Yeah.
Yep. And we will obviously put the link to our careers page. And kind of, yeah, and it's just been great to see kind of how the team's grown. And I just love how design is something we've really prioritized. So it's
Me
not
too.
just kind of this afterthought.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's beautiful and it's complex. And yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. That's so nice to hear.
Yeah. Well,
I'll go
thank
back
you,
to my corner
Laurel.
with all my blues.
I mean, if you're at 28 blues, just go ahead and get to 30. You know, just make it a
Same.
nice
Just add
round.
Oh,
some more.
I think I had that on the slide. Those are all hard coded still, right? So we've got some work to do.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I've got 3 shades of blue in this cup, so I'm getting there.
So it's not 50 shades of gray, it's 28 shades of blue,
20
right?
shades.
That's right.
That's what we'll call this video.
But
20.
it's like a February.
Right. That's funny. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for this, I guess, window into the world of design of Thunderbird. It's been great having you. And yeah, I think the next episode that we're going to have is going to be design related. It's going to be with Vineet on Account Hub at the
Oh,
end of
excellent.
next month.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah, we just set that up today. So
I'm excited to hear that. Yeah, it'd be great.
yeah, there's some more beautiful things for folks to see in the next episode. So
Well, and
thanks
helpful.
again. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, bye for now and see you later.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.